First, let's cut the BS out of the way. Men who fall in love with bargirls are not stupid. They are not naive. And they are not desperate. Men who fall in love with bargirls often are pre-selected because they ripe for emotional manipulation. That's it. It's not about being dumb or ignorant. The vast majority of these men were simply in the wrong mind space with the wrong girl at the wrong time. With that out of the way, let's discuss why men fall in love with bargirls. Most men think they fell in love because of chemistry, that there was some sort of connection that felt different than most bargirls they've met. That explanation is often a self-rationalization that feels safe, but it's also incomplete. Men don't fall in love with bargirls because of intimacy. If that were the reason, the attachment would fade once the novelty wore off. Instead, for many men, the duration of the relationship intensifies the feelings, which means something deeper is happening. Patia and places like it provide three key factors that influence the development of love as a neurochemical reaction in the brain. A person needs emotional safety, validation, and repetition over time. The environment removes the fear of rejection. Everything is easy and straightforward. What men read as connection for many bargirls is simply good customer service. The irony is this makes desire feel cleaner because there is less friction, and affection is more predictable. This amplifies the feeling of love. This isn't romance, it's regulation. Here, why? Most men who live in the West live emotionally neutral lives at best. They rarely receive compliments. Even married men never or very occasionally get any sense of actually being desired. There is no or little reassurance that they matter beyond utility. But when they come to Patia, that starvation ends instantly. They feel noticed and remembered in a way they haven't felt since their youth. But here's the trick. It's not because you earned it. It's because the system is designed to deliver it. But the brain doesn't rationalize the feeling. Men look past the fact that they are being provided a service and start attaching meaning to the emotion. Around a bargirl, many men feel like they've become a better version of themselves. They become the version of the man they could have been if not for the asymmetrical romantic climate in Western countries that heavily favors the woman. This is the trap. If you look at many bargirl-man dynamics, many men actually don't fall in love with her. They fall in love with who they become when they're around her. This is the real hook, not the girl. A skilled bargirl operates like a mirror, reflecting back whatever a man wants to feel. Not through lies, but through responsiveness. She tracks his moods and adjusts her tone. She finds the perfect balance between affection and absence that keeps a man hooked. The emotional precision combined with, let's call it, feminine persuasion often overpowers even the most rational of men. But notice something crucial here. Often emotional precision is not vulnerability. It is responsiveness combined with adaptation. Any history or vulnerability she shares is curated to maximize your emotional attachment. Pay attention to the stories that she tells, her tone, what she is likely omitting or deliberately reframing. Men who take bargirls at their word have already lost the game before it started. The stories they hear immediately tug on their heartstrings, and their wallet soon follows. Which 9 times out of 10 was exactly the plan. And it usually happens before he even realizes it. That's because a relationship with a bargirl feels deeper than normal dating. Real relationships involve friction and conflict, disagreements, boundaries, delayed gratification, mutual responsibility. A relationship with a bargirl bypasses nearly all of these things. The absence of friction feels like compatibility. The lack of conflict feels like harmony. The nervous system interprets smoothness as love. But in reality, it's just a well-run system. But here, where things get darker, inevitably, the smoothness that characterized the beginning of the relationship starts to fade. It is replaced by withdrawal, hot-cold cycles, emotional manipulation, and distance. This creates what is called an intermittent reinforcement loop. The man clings harder even as the relationship starts to break because he remembers the beginning and wants to go back to that. It is not that much different than a drug addict chasing the first high. That's because the brain doesn't label the feeling as relationship trouble. It labels it as loss of self. That's why men chase women who are not answering their phone calls in the middle of the night. That's why men rationalize lies and disappearances. That's why they overinvest even as the woman pulls back or openly tests other options. They're not trying to save the relationship. They're trying to recover who they were inside it. Here's the hard truth most men in this situation avoid. You were getting along just fine with life before you met her, and you will be just fine once she leaves. The truth is the men who fall the hardest have been emotionally underfed for a long time. Places like Patya just exposed it. So until a man builds a life where validation exists outside of transactions and confidence comes from his own competence, he will always be a target for bargirls. As men choosing to interact with these type of women, we need to accept the reality and choose hard boundaries. If she cannot follow the rules, then it's on to the next one. We need to learn to spot the red flags early before we get attached. We need to learn how to decode their language. Not what they say, but the meaning behind what they're saying. Otherwise, the pattern will repeat. Different girl, same outcome, and that ends today. Stay sharp.